Guys, Nutnfancy, totally in a different location than you would expect to find me in. Actually, I'm in San Francisco, right near the Golden Gate Bridge, and this is where I'm going to do my binocular review. That's because right here, there's a lot to see, and as I just showed you, got the bridge, a lot of activity in the bay, Treasure Island that way, I just showed you that too. So I'm going to talk about my reference standard of high value 10 power binoculars. They come in other powers as well. I'm going to go over some of the features on the binoculars that you could be looking for when you need to buy some. And I'm going to tell you why they're important, or the ones to look for are important. So a little bit windy, I apologize for that. It's just going to be like I do with my outdoor videos. It's just going to be something we put up with. Beautiful day here in the Bay, San Francisco. Beautiful Sunday afternoon. No bridge jumpers out there. I haven't seen anybody bail off lately. Hopefully they won't. Well, light is fading here waterside. I got here a lot later than I planned to due to traffic. Oh dude, there's some dolphins out there. I'll see if I can zoom in on those if they come up again. Anyways, I was going to do the tabletop review right here at waterside next to the Golden Gate Bridge of these Binos, the Nikon Monarchs, and I had the whole setup. But I'm losing light right now, and it is still a little bit windy. Therefore, I think I'll just relocate and do a regular tabletop review of the binoculars there. And then I think that'll serve our purposes a lot better. But it was great to come out here and see the scenic views of the Golden Gate Bridge, San Francisco Bay, Treasure Island in the distance. The sun is setting. It's beautiful, beautiful day. Probably around, I don't know, 72 degrees out here today with a light wind blowing. And the dolphins I just saw came up right here. They just surfaced and came down, came up and went back. So I wish I could see them again. As I pack up my gear, if I see them again, I'll get a shot of them. Other than that, let's take it on back to the house and we'll resume there. Hey, check that catamaran out. That's cool. See how I zoom in with this camera? Your binoculars, although I don't really recommend zoom binoculars, they give you the option of doing what I'm doing now, seeing things at a distance in a finer detail, just like we're doing with my Exact-D Sanyo camera right now. Alright, back to the house we go. Nutnfancy with a Nikon Monarch binocular review. Alright, back at the Nutnfancy headquarters to review the Nikon Monarch binoculars. Really dig them. There's a lot of good things, and I'm going to go down on this list of talking points, and I'll probably still forget to say some things. Little rules of engagement here of how I'm going to do this. I'm not going to get too in-depth about the technicalities of binoculars. I think that's boring for most people. Most people will not be interested in that, and their eyes will glaze over, and they probably won't remember it anyhow. I will talk a few technical terms, as you can see here. However, I'm going to try to explain them as basically as I can and how they definitely relate to your choice of binoculars and what you need to watch out for. As usual, my battery's on its last leg, so I might join the two clips together. Bear with me if indeed that happens. So these are the Nikon Monarch 10 power binoculars, this particular pair. In the background we have some Nikon Monarch 8 power, and I'll explain the differences as we go along. So let's get going. There's so much to talk about. This will be a multi-part series, as it usually is by Nutnfancy when I talk about something that's very informational, and optics is very informational. Now, like I've done with my backpack reviews, I'm not going to review every brand of binocular. What I'm going to do is pick a reference brand, in this case a Nikon Monarchs, and then that'll serve as my binocular review. Now, that doesn't mean that down the road, or if the mood hits me, I won't review other binos. I'll probably do a compact series too, maybe using my Zeiss as a reference standard in the compact, i.e. ultra compact binocular. But I'll just set this as my reference standard for high value glass, i.e. binos, teach you what's important to me, and of course your mileage may vary, and then you're armed with your own information to go out and make some purchasing decisions. So let's get going, and I'm going to tell you why I prefer these Nikon Monarchs as time goes on. First off, size and weight. This is a very critical aspect to your binocular purchase decision for most users. A lot of users probably don't consider it too much. Let me go back in time with you now to my original pair of Nikons I bought when I was a very poor college student. I didn't have hardly any money, and I bought these very large, however, very serviceable pair of Nikons. These are Nikon Classics, I think they're called, 10 by 50, and you know what? I didn't even buy them new. I was so poor at the time, I bought a pair of refurbished ones, and here they are. In fact, I still have them because they're still very serviceable and they work. Now, you can see the design on these classic binoculars is indeed classic. This is called a Prism Design. It's kind of an offset barrel where the image comes in here. There's a series of prisms that reflects the image and turns it right side up again back to your eye. The advantage of these is you might have a little bit better clarity and separation in my experience. However, they're a little bit more delicate. They're generally heavier and they're bulkier, as you can see. Prism. So this is a Prism designed binocular. These are not the highest quality binoculars for sure, but you know what? Like I said, they work, and that's why I keep them in the inventory, and they were very inexpensive. Now, contrasting the Prism design is one representative like the Monarchs. The Monarchs are a roof prism design. Notice the straight barrel. The prisms are aligned straight on, and there is a series of prisms. Let me get my little diagram here, if I can find it, that reflect the image in a straight line. They are more expensive to make. Generally speaking, a roof prism design will be more expensive than a prism design. And here's a graphic showing the light path of the two types. And we could get all technical and talk about all the different ways that light refracts off the prisms and how they manipulate that image to make it serviceable to our eyeball. Don't care about that. What we care about is where the rubber hits the road and how it benefits us as the user. So getting back to size and weight, the weight on these bad boys is a whopping 37 ounces. That's a lot of weight. The Nikon Monarchs, in my opinion, are class leading, and they only weigh about 21.5 ounces. And that's for some 10 power 42 millimeter objective binoculars. This one's 8 power, same weight. That's amazing. And I'm going to show you in Cabela's catalog how these stack up weight and size against all comers. And they pretty much lead the class that way. So that is something you need to ask yourself, whether you're a bird watcher, a peeping Tom, I just made that one up actually, just kidding, a hunter, or a soldier, or a law enforcement official, or just a civilian who needs a good pair of optics. Ask yourself, can I take a pair of binoculars that are this large?
or do I need something more compact? Generally speaking, you would be better served by something more compact because it gets to that old firepower versus mobility argument that I talk about all the time. In other words, these larger, heavier binoculars probably will not be with you when you need them. That's because since they are so large, heavy, bulky, you probably opted to leave them at the cabin, leave them at home, didn't go hiking with them. Whereas a smaller pair, it's much more likely you're going to have them on you when you need them. Get it? Firepower versus mobility. It plays in all sorts of different ways. That's why I'll refer to that foundation video of mine frequently. For me, Nutnfancy, size and weight are always critical, no matter what item I'm talking about, whether it's binos, knives, guns, tactical gear, outdoor equipment. Very critical because it all adds up. As you've seen from my other reviews of tactical gear, you can see that that indeed can equate to, 60 pounds easily. So if we can save 5 ounces here, in this case, huge amount of weight, over a pound between these two, then that's weight that's well lost, I will say. So size and weight, I generally prefer a roof prism designed binocular, just like this, because it is more compact, lighter weight. Now, are there disadvantages going with a roof prism? Yeah, a couple. Again, I said the expense already. You'll get a better image separation, maybe a better clarity. Well, I even hate to say that. I was going to say better clarity with the Poro prism designs, but that is in days gone by. The roof prisms being designed and put out, and these Nikon Monarchs are great examples of this. Compare head-to-head against any Poro prism design, in my opinion. Now, a lot of guys who are optics experts, and that's what they devote their life to, may run across this video and they'll say, that's wrong, Dudes, this is for the layman, guys that don't know a lot about binos, and I'm not the end-all expert either. There's a ton of things I don't know about the technicalities of binoculars. But I'll tell you what, I know the stuff that's important. And for me, a roof prism is the way to go. Because otherwise I just won't use it. Now, if you're into astronomy and you know that your situation is static and you're not going to be moving around a lot, then these would be fine. Or if you're, in a vehicle, going on safari, maybe boat watching off a boat, maybe not such a big deal. But keep in mind also that you're going to have to hold them around your neck. Okay, and if you hold them around your neck's going to get sore. I speak from experience from these very binoculars I'm holding. They're heavy, and they'll make your neck sore, and it's not pleasurable. Now, we can improve that situation by the addition of different strap systems, kind of like this. This one's by Optech USA, and it will distribute the weight across the back of your shoulders and across your back in total, and that makes it a lot more easy to carry that. But this is basically what you're doing is strapping some straps to yourself saying, I'm all about my binoculars. And that's, forget if you're a soldier, sheepdog, or cop, forget about any other tactical gear because these are going to get in the way. Okay, so for me, this is the best option. Okay, I know I've forgotten more things to say about that. Let me say this also. In terms of capability, this is one of the things I was forgetting, you're going to have to strike some compromises. You're not going to get everything from your binocular. You just aren't. What am I saying? Well, you could go with a much more compact binocular. If I said, well, size and weight are absolutely critical to me. Well, if that's the case, why wouldn't I carry these Nikon 10x25s that I got in Japan many years ago? I think they're Sport Stars or Sport Stars are these ones. Great set of high-value binoculars. But if I say size and weight are critical, why wouldn't I just go with these all the time? The answer is because capabilities. They do not have the same capabilities that the larger Monarchs do. The image quality is less. It can't gather as light as well. Color definition suffers. Separation suffers. And in my opinion, the alignment of the optics is not as good. Okay, and I'll talk about why that's important here. Eye strain. So size and weight are not the governing, the end-all goal for binoculars. But for the amount of capability we want, in my opinion, it's a 10x42 millimeter binocular. I try to go as small and compact as I can within that capability. Sometimes these are too heavy to take, and that's when we'll opt for a subcompact bino. Maybe I'll do a video on that later on. Okay, so enough said about that. You're going to have to make some compromises though. How about coatings and glass quality? Well, I'm not the end-all expert again on coatings. What you want to look for though are fully multi-coated lenses. Fully multi-coated means that within the glass lenses, that every glass lens that is exposed to air is coated with some type of light transmission coating or anti-reflective coating. Magnesium fluoride, I think, is what they use. You see how there's kind of a green-violet tint to the Monarchs? That's a very good indicator that it has high-quality coatings on it. It will usually have a blue, violet, green kind of coating or reflective color on it as you look through the objective side of the Bino. You want to get fully multi-coated binoculars, and that's honestly, it's pretty standard that higher end binos are fully multi-coated. Don't confuse that with, I think there's other variations of it like just multi-coated. In other words, it has some surfaces coated, just not all of them. I'm flipping through because I don't know all the terminology exactly, but you want fully multi-coated. Another thing, and I'm kind of jumping ahead here, which I often do in my talking points, fully coated is the terminology. That means not every surface is coated. You want fully multi-coated optics. Another coating that is critical, and this is a great way to discern good binoculars from, or excellent binoculars from good ones, and that is a term called phase corrected binoculars. Nikon Monarchs are phase corrected. In other words, as the light waves pass through the objective lens, they are reflected off of the surfaces of the roof prism and split of two out-of-phase beams. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I could get even more technical on you. I won't. What that means is when we phase correct the optics in the glass, it sharpens them up. It puts them back into phase, and it improves color fidelity, quality, and contrast for much sharper images. In my opinion, too, a phase-corrected binocular is much easier to look through over an extended period of time. No doubt. Hey, I'm out of time. That's part one. Yeah, we're going to talk more about the Nikon Monarchs and binoculars in total. This is Nutnfancy reviewing them. Thanks for tuning in.